You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't
right.
get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep.
We're going 5, 4, 3.
And we're back for another episode of Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are sponsored by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs nationally. And in this episode, I brought on two guests that are making their way on social media the different way. What me, being kind of the older millennial generation, seems to not really understand too well. I will basically introduce my first guest, Chris Garcia. Chris, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Going very well. And then my second guest is Preston Jones.
How you doing?
What up?
Hey.
Okay, so that being what we see in the media, the social media world, I think it's something that I used to know. Somebody that I used to know, you know? And these days, it's like super foreign to me. I feel like the algorithm, like they call it, is going a different path than what I'm used to. And I know how to do the behind the scenes stuff, but what's going on? You guys are seeing so many people get famous from this thing. You're seeing people get all the eyeballs in the world for good content, but is it turning into business? What's going on? So what are you seeing? I mean, Chris, if you want to start, and the reason why I have you on here is you've got a hell of a lot of people looking at your page.
Thanks.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's start in the beginning. First, tell us who you are, what you do, how you got to where you are currently, and a little bit about yourself.
All right, sure. Well, my name is Chris. I'm a realtor here in San Antonio with Phyllis Browning. I was in the military for almost 14 years as a counterintelligence agent, Purple Heart combat veteran. Excuse me.
There you go. There you go.
Purple Heart combat veteran. I got medically retired from the military for injuries sustained in combat. Went to school, got my undergraduate degree, applied to a million jobs after the military, kind of just ended up in real estate. I was working with Levi Rogers as a CMA analyst. And, right in the start of COVID, I saw all these realtors doing really well and stuff and helping a lot of people during a crazy time.
Absolutely.
So I was like, man, I need to get in on that. So I switched sides of the table, and it kind of led me to where I'm at now. I did start noticing, I guess about a year ago, as far as like social media transition, as far as like reels and organic growth on Instagram, it became really big.
Right.
And then recently, I kind of just switched things up with a little mentorship with a few of my friends and some guidance as well. And then it just kind of blew up, posting like 2 to 3 reels a day, and
Right.
then hitting like a certain length on each one, and then hitting like the song.
Right.
And also a little bit of luck.
Okay, no, and that's great. And those are some things that I want to talk about today. Before we get further into that, Preston, you want to tell the folks about who you are and what you began to do, and what I think after this show you may start to incorporate again, in my opinion. But who knows?
Yeah, definitely. So my name's Preston Jones. I'm a second-year loan officer. Been doing this and loving this mortgage game for the last 2 years. Did some marketing out of college. Own a basketball program that I run as well still. When COVID came and decided that it was time to change something from my basketball program. So I decided to jump into the mortgage world and absolutely loved it. As a new loan officer, it's definitely tough to find business. Nobody's just going, hey, here's deals.
Right.
You've got to find your deals. So, trying to find a new way, and kind of like you said, in the new world, I had a lot of good mentors here at Directions Home Loan, here with Lock and Terra Loans. My brother being one of them, who's been in this game for a long time, top producing mortgage loan officer. So just taking advice from different areas, talking to different loan officers and seeing, what their niche was, how did they get business. And as I went, I decided, maybe I'm going to try to take a crack at this TikTok game. Saw some other mortgage loan officers doing well on TikTok, and I decided that I think I can do well at that. I'm
pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm funny. I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
I don't embarrass easily. So I started to make some videos, and before you know it, I had one video go off for a couple thousand views. I went, oh wow, and then before you know it, I had another one that went off for 200,000 views, and
Sure.
I didn't know what to do. I freaked out.
Yeah.
Just went, oh my god, they're doing it, and they were commenting, and I'm responding back to the comments, and so that did well. I started from the bottom, and now I ended up with about 1,300 followers, and then I kind of fell off a little bit. I think we'll get to that a little bit more, and
Yeah.
I think I know why, but that's just kind of my role into that.
Right. So, and the reason why I brought Preston along is when he started doing the TikTok, he had some fire content.
Yeah.
No joke. It was, no one had seen anything like it before. And I think because a lot was thrown at him, not only new mortgage industry, he bought a house, he's got a family, all of these things that go into what we do, not only professionally, but also personally, that takes you away from the things that you don't see instant return on investment, right? It's not an instant. Even though they call it Instagram, it's not instant gratification, or it's not instant return on investment, I should say. So with you, Chris, how you had been doing TikTok for how long, or Instagram Reels for how long?
I guess I started a little bit last summer, but then got really serious just in the spring, really.
Right.
When I noticed that there is a true path for organic growth on Instagram. I saw some success from some other agents and just jumped on that, and then started concentrating there. So, there's agents that are blowing up within like a month or two, like with 100,000 followers and stuff.
Right. And what do you believe? Because, matter of fact, before we go into that, what do you think has changed from, let's say, the way that I used to do social media marketing, which had a lot to do with funny memes, had a lot to do with my own personal story, transparency, and consistency, truly.
Right.
What has changed in the new age of going about these things? Because I can tell you, I post now and it's still a picture, or I'll do this story thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it has nowhere near the impact or the spread that what you guys are doing happens.
Yeah. Well, I think what's changing on a lot of social media is the platform and the way it's performing. I think they're transitioning to like a SEO type data, platform actually. So for us, like, real estate and houses seem to be very interesting.
Yeah, they're sexy.
Yeah, and people love watching them, the videos. So I think, people with the hashtags and stuff, like, just Googling it, or like, before, and I was talking to my wife about it, you used to Google something and be on Pinterest, and now it's like Etsy or something, it kind of all transitions to something else. And, now it's like, they're getting away from TikTok and they're moving to Instagram. Well, the push is by Instagram, and then you got the YouTube. So all the video platforms are becoming SEO based. And
now that information right there, where would somebody, how do you know that information? Because I will tell you, what you just said, in my opinion, is true, because we just tested it. I've got another loan officer that went viral on the TikTok machine.
Yeah.
And once he started posting on Instagram the same content, TikTok stopped, and it was all Instagram. He's still posting to both, but the eyeballs are now on Instagram. The forms that are coming in are now on Instagram. So what you just said is true, in my opinion. Where'd you get that from?
So one thing I noticed in the beginning, and like what helped me like get a start, was networking and building a community. With the agents that I was working with, we all talk. And today, still, I think at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'm talking to some other very well established agents that have like big followings, and seeing what they're seeing, or asking what they're seeing and what they're hearing on the Instagram side. And also YouTube.
YouTube, okay, yeah.
YouTube is so valuable. There's a lot of information there as far as like how to grow your social media. And, a lot of it really is just doing it, like listening to these people and then just like following their instructions, listening to how people are actually searching for these videos or houses and stuff like that, and implementing it on your process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel as though this is totally side topic, but I feel as though YouTube is the new university for all. I mean, just last night I was editing a video and I could not figure something out. Threw it into YouTube, and lo and behold, man, this whole time for this hour, I could have just typed it in and I would have been done.
Yep.
All right, well, you live and you learn, but then you get YouTube.
Yep.
But that being the case, was there something specific? Because when you go to your page,
Right.
it's obvious what your message is. It's obvious what people are coming to your page for in particular. Similar to Preston's, similar to Shane, you know what you're going to get when you go on their page. It's not going to be a different, like, for example, I'm not going to go to Preston's page and see a bunch of cool videos of houses.
Right.
Yep.
Just like I'm not going to go to your page and see a bunch of funny videos of me doing something silly.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what you're getting, and how do you know, or do you just go?
So I guess in regards to content and the way Instagram's actually picking it up is they want the clearest picture. Like, so like if you notice my videos, a lot of them are very crisp.
High definition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to be going at like 4K on your videos and stuff like that. And the algorithm will recognize the higher quality videos. I think when I had first started, I was doing a lot of editing and like these crazy transitions or overlays and stuff like that. But I started realizing that I wasn't getting the views. And once I transitioned away from that and actually just doing very clear videos, Instagram really picked it up. Another thing that I did notice in the transition with the Instagram is when you scroll through your feed, how many of your friends do you actually see now?
Not very many anymore. I did
it's
notice
all
that.
information. So like, it's just like everything else. Your phone's always listening. For the most part, you know, whatever you're talking about is going to be one of the first things that you're going to be pulling up on your feed. So, you know, that actually plays a pretty big role.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't think we as consumers understand how big this concept is. I think a lot of folks get caught in the glory of getting this huge following, of feeling like they're famous. But at the end of the day, and in addition, people believe that you can get wealthy or make money from social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any of those, without a product to sell behind it. Okay. And I think that is the first mistake, that if you're going to set out to spend your time making these videos, because it's not cheap. It's totally time consuming, right?
Yeah.
But it's a risk that you take, knowing that potential in some type of return. But if you have no product to sell, if you have no service to sell, what are you doing it for, right?
Right.
And what I've noticed is there's plenty of realtors, lenders out there that have a good size following, but aren't capturing any of it. They're literally replying to the comments, fielding DMs, and all of these things that if they were to create something that captures, let it go for a good 30 days for the algorithm to pick up that is, and now that is true. Similar situation with Shane. We set up a form, link, all that good stuff. It was almost 22 days later, bink, it started going off and just falling. And that being the case, I mean, what are your thoughts on why that happened? What is it algorithm? Is it people? Is it what we're talking about? I don't know, because back in the day, Facebook, it was simple for us. You put something out there, your friend's going to see it. If your friend saw it and they like it, then their friend's going to see it. And then it trickles down that way. Now I got people popping up on my feed that I've never known in my life, but I absolutely am interested in what they're saying.
Yeah, I know for me, that was the hard part, was figuring that out. Because videos that I thought should have blown up wouldn't blow up. And videos that I thought I just posted in 2 minutes blew up. So that was the hard part for me. And, you know, being consistent, you have to be consistent and you have to stay on it. And, you know, like you said, I have had a lot of things going on in my life, the house and things like that, because at the end of the day, if you're going to be influential on there, it's a part-time job minimum.
Yeah. No,
it's
absolutely.
minimum part-time
Absolutely.
job. And if you're going to do it kind of, you know, like we have a good example in our office with Shane.
Yep.
It's almost a full-time job now. He's
Correct.
literally on TikTok doing the videos 3 times a day, answering, replying. It's
Right.
tough.
Right.
And it got tough for me, and I didn't see the return as fast as I wanted.
Right.
So I kind of steered away because I have other businesses and other things going on. So that's the hard part of, okay, well, how do you make it work? Or are you just going to put all your eggs into one basket? What's the answer to that question?
And I think that's a great question, because you never know how quickly or how long it will take. And then when it does happen, let's say you go viral or you get a large following within the first month that you're doing it, and then you think it's easy, right? But at the same time, you never set up anything to capture. So you're riding this wave of endorphins or whatever the heck they call it, where it gives you that special feeling. And you totally missed the mark on, man, all of those people could have asked me a question that I could then convert to a referral and or a new customer. But I'm riding this wave of this feel good, right? And I've seen it before. So on the other token, you've got somebody that takes 6 months and never gets a thing, and one day it just goes pink, and it's just nonstop coming in, but they were ready to go to capture, to have all the things in place. And that person that has 200, 300,000 followers that is doing great content, not selling a thing, is sitting back going, man, how do I get rich off of these things? You know?
Yeah, that's one of my mentors. That when I first started, he was telling me, he's like, man, these are great, dude, but like there's, making this a business and getting a return on it is something that you really need to focus on. Like, and what are you going to do? How are you going to educate and provide value? Because if not, you're just, you're basically, you have an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
Where you're losing a lot of money.
That's
like
right.
you're pouring a lot of time into doing these videos. And if you're not doing it, with the expectation of something, or setting up the systems and processes necessary,
Right.
then you're just, it's a hobby.
That's so true. And I tell you what, people tell me the same thing about this podcast. And they say you're putting all this time and money into it, and you're not making any money off of it. And my response is, it's cheaper than therapy. So I will continue. But one thing that I want to discuss, hopefully there's nothing else there. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to give in regards to, we'll talk about tips and tricks at the end.
Yeah.
Let's jump into something that I think is becoming pretty prevalent and is a little disturbing. And what I mean is misinformation when it comes to the videos, the reels, the information that's being provided, because they're providing it in a funny way or a appeasing to the eye way, but it tends to lead to improper expectations, in my opinion. Are you guys seeing that out there?
I've actually called people out on it on TikTok.
As you should.
Oh,
should.
I've commented on it. Many people do. Professionals will comment, but I've caught it. People, they lie about how much money you have to make to get into a home. I've seen those very often. You make this much, you can afford $400,000 home. Well, that's not true. And I go in and break that down. One thing that I regret that I didn't do was, on TikTok, there's something where you can duet or stitch a video. Yeah. And I wish I would have done more of that, because one, it would have helped me get out there, because now I'm going off of their followers and mine.
Leveraging.
It was something I was scared to do, just because it is controversial to do
100%. Yeah.
But it's something I wish I would have done, because there's a lot of misinformation, people lying to other people. They try to comment on your videos thinking that they know, and then you hit them with facts, and then they go, oh, I did. Yeah, I'm the professional.
Correct.
So if you're a professional on those social media, you have to act like a professional.
Right. I agree with that. How about you, Chris? And the reason why I brought this up is cruising in to the office this morning, jump on social media, and I see yet again somebody else, just kind of like what you were talking about. They said, well, all you got to make is X amount to afford this kind of home. And it was only talking about income. Oh, wow. And I commented and said, hey, are you forgetting about their monthly debt? Because you're misleading these folks to thinking that all you have to have is this amount of money annually and you can qualify for X. What that does is it sets us up as lenders for a tough conversation. Yeah. But he said,
Yeah, I think I do see it on my end. There's a lot of realtors that, that, well, man, how do I say it?
You just say it.
There's a lot of realtors that are out there not really to help people. They're out there just for the money. They're not trying to like educate or provide value
Mhm.
and you know, tell them the process of buying a home with the resources and stuff like that. So I do get some leads that have worked with other realtors that'll say, well, they were telling me this, and I'm like, no, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry you spent so much time, and now that you're in this pickle, you know, let's see what we can do to help you. I do know that on social media, there's a lot of scammers too, as
Mhm.
far as misinformation on the realtor side. I think early on, like when I hit like 10K following, I had like some uh, scam pages made or something like that, and then people were hitting me up and they're like, "Hey, dude, you know, this guy's asking for money or something like that." So there's a lot of that going on as
So
well.
explain that, because that's a great kind of just point to emphasize
Hmm.
for consumers, for realtors, for anybody out there that is either currently or looking to get into doing something like this. It's like, hey, TikToker, Instagrammer, beware.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's really I don't think there's a way to prevent it as far as safeguarding yourself from it happening and people making these pages.
Is it like an imitation page of
Yeah,
you?
basically,
Ah.
and they're copying, like, the videos are exactly the same. And it'll usually be like a spelling in like the handle or something, or an extra letter or a dot or something
Mhm.
somewhere. Um, but you know, one thing that I do know is like for me, and what's helped me, I guess, get past that is putting myself in front of the camera
Yeah.
on my stories,
Yeah.
because then they see that I'm an actual person
Yeah, I agree.
versus just like a business, you know, and I think a lot of these scam pages that are going out there, they're not doing that. They're like, you know, sharing
Right.
stories or sharing a reel that somebody else posted, but actually personalizing your page,
Mhm.
it sets you apart and it prevents a lot of that, I guess, you know, misinformation and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and shows that you are real. But yeah, that's what I do, and that's kind of
Absolutely.
how I prevent it.
Do you have something to add to that?
Before that, I couldn't. Nope,
No worries.
I couldn't remember.
So on that token, since we're down that path, if your MO, if you're appeasing content to the consumer that you've grown, do you recommend to change it, and have you tested that? Because for me, in coaching Shane and what he's doing, I told him, you don't change a thing. You keep doing exactly what you're doing. Come with new content, give them more program education, more value. Don't repeat yourself type situation. But he doesn't speak in his videos. They're
Yeah.
all kind of ad lib or music or something along those lines with
Funny.
words. And it works
Yeah.
not only as a business method, but it works to educate people. There's a lot of the messagery that he has that says, single mother accomplished the goal of home ownership, zero money down. Is that possible? 100% it is. More people need to know that. But if he were to go and, like we were talking about, start posting videos of homes, I don't know if it may actually hurt him. So the concept of, let's say, you getting your TikTok and your videos or your Instagram, and instead of just the house that's badass with awesome music behind it, you're standing in front of it talking about stuff. Would it be value? Yes. But would it be against your current messagery? Absolutely. And could
Yeah.
it hurt you? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and I know the algorithm's constantly changing. Over the last weekend, there was a big change. I've been talking to a few of the other guys on Instagram as far as like their engagement. And, you
Mhm.
know, there was drop off this last weekend, so there was definitely a change. But at changing everything, you know, and I think there's always highs and lows, because about a month ago, I think I was like at 50,000 or something like that, and then I was not getting that many followers. I wasn't getting that many views, but it's just the way the pattern goes. And then if you just push through for like a week or something like that,
Right.
it'll come back. But not changing anything is very important. You know, stay the track. You know, there are some agents. I think you know, Rebate Haas. I think
Rebate
that
Haas,
guy's
yeah.
he's doing information stuff, and that seems to be trendy and catching on too.
Right.
But he's been implementing that since the beginning.
Since the beginning,
Yeah.
right? So if you start that way and you're consistent with it, by all means, it should kick off if your content is decent,
Yeah,
high
absolutely.
quality, some type of stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But I also think that it's a great use of the different features that they have by you doing the story as you in the story, and then your actual reels are what you're used to seeing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I also think it's funny that, and it goes to show that you should be on all platforms if you can, post different content to the different platforms, because Shane, as an example, you as an example, you don't have the same amount of followers as you do on Facebook, as you do Instagram, as you do TikTok.
Right.
I mean, TikTok was what started Shane out. And I think it left him behind at 28,000, and Instagram started at 600. When that stopped, this one went from 600 to like 60,000.
Yeah.
So,
Nuts.
and Facebook, no likes, no loves, none of that stuff yet, but same content. Weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Facebook grows. I think like,
It's all us old people.
yeah. Well, I mean, so I link a lot of my social media, so that way it automatically posts. Like whatever I post a reel on Instagram is going to post on my business Facebook page.
Right?
It's been a slow growth there, but I'm starting to see, some traction and actually some leads come in there too.
Okay.
So sharing it across the board. But then like, something else as far as like implementing, so that way you're not speaking, having that, I guess, connection, or like, if you have a YouTube link or something like that
Mhm.
to your page where people can get more
More
information.
information. Yeah.
I think that's very helpful, and that's, that's kind of the
Absolutely.
direction things are
That's
going.
actually a good idea. I mean, you've got, and kind of, I've got a concept that I want to share with you after this, but I'll hint to it. It's semi cross pollination. Essentially, let's say you do your videos and have your views based on beautiful homes.
Mhm.
Shane has his on informative. Preston's got his on informative and funny. If he had a link that said, hey, check out these beautiful homes here, boom, now you're linked together. Hey, check out some information on how to get qualified here. Now you're cross-pollinating.
Yeah.
And the two juggernauts already should become larger. Then when you do that to somebody in Houston, because you've got to send you're not going to drive to Houston every so often to go and close deals.
Yeah.
Same concept. Out of state now, it turns into this big old melting pot of great content of great people that are all working towards the same concept, which is homeownership.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought of that the other day, and I couldn't wait to share it with you.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
exciting, and that's exactly something that I've been pushing for since kind of the beginning, and some of the agents that I've been working with and talking to is building a community.
Mhm.
Because the way with my old job in the Army, it was all based on building that community and like establishing yourself and like a network. So that way you're all helping each other.
That's an interesting concept to me, because every time I do something, I always ask myself, if it's a new idea, why wasn't it done before? And so I like to kind of attack things that way of, okay, why wasn't it there? Let me logic and reason. Okay, and then let me just do it, or whatever the case may be. But I follow and see a lot of these top mortgage loan officers. That's how I got started, because I started following them to see what they were doing and seeing how they were doing things. And, some of the top realtors that are around, and they don't have that. They don't have any like, oh, go to this lender, go to this. And I wonder why that is. I don't know if it's good, bad, ugly. I don't know what it is. It's more of a concept as to why don't they do that?
Let's talk about that for a second.
Is it because they're linked with just one? Is it they don't want to be associated with just one lender, one realtor? What is the concept for that? Because that's a great idea.
Let's dissect it, because there's only select few that are going to listen to this episode and another select few that are going to pay attention to it. Okay. And I'm not going to stop giving nuggets on this thing regardless. My goal truly is to show you everything that I've been able to do. Why? Because it's so damn hard. I want you to try and duplicate it. Right. But the idea behind it is, you've got, and again, back to the question, which the question is, why aren't people doing more of cross-pollinating, more of leveraging to increase your visibility, to increase your level of validity across the gamut versus honing in on this one little area? Think big, in abundance, not in scarcity. The first and foremost, I believe, is laziness. I know it doesn't sound like it could be something, but it takes a little extra to do that. Just that. Let me every time remember to put this link to this person, because we're going to cross-pollinate. People don't want to do that. They'll take the time to make TikTok or make the reel, but they won't take the time to do the extra. That's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. The second, in my opinion, has to do with kind of what you said there in regards to I don't want to be stuck with one person, but at the end of the day, that one person is and should be considered multiple people because of their following. You can't, their demographic, and I've learned through Shane's what's coming in, none of these people are the same. They all have the same common interest, but they're not the same. So therefore, by leveraging your book of business and your followers with someone else's that is equally or better than what you're doing, you're only going to get more out of it. Both of you are. And then the idea of, I don't know, that somebody's going to get to see behind the curtain. Somebody's going to see that I accidentally got TikTok famous or I accidentally got real famous and there's really just this behind it. Does that make sense? I mean, you ask Shane and it's like, hey, Shane, how do you come up with this stuff? And he's like, honestly, whatever comes to mind, I put it together. I shoot it to you guys in the group text and y'all say yay or nay. Nothing wrong with that. But his followers, your followers probably believe that you've got this camera crew and all these things that go into it. So then to reveal that to somebody else that wants to partner with you, it's kind of a aha moment, if that makes sense. Because at the same time, they're probably going to go, yeah, me too. It's just me behind the camera. It's nothing crazy, nothing. And I think that's something that we should be proud of. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen often. Yeah. Greed, selfishness. I mean, I can come out with all those, but I'd rather not. You know, what are your thoughts? Why is that not happening? That's a good question.
I think ego has a lot to do with it. I think because I run into a lot of agents, like, you know, when I'm getting content, and you know, we all do something different, and they'll ask me, and I'll share, and they're like, "Well, no," and I'm like, "Okay." I mean, you know, I'm trying to help you, you know, but I think a lot of people on the realtor side think they know what's best. And I don't think they're not willing to accept change or other ideas, especially from like a junior agent. So I think ego has a lot to do with it, as far as breaking that barrier and having a large cohesive working environment.
No, that makes sense. It does.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that because, like I said, it's a great question. Why have people not done that more? Because you can go, I mean, there's no realtors linked with other realtors unless they're on a team. There's no realtors with lenders, no lenders with realtors. They're just, it's not there. And it's why not? What's stopping you? Because like you said, now you've got multiple, now you've got their followers and your followers. You're trying to grow as much as you can together. You know, what is the question for that?
And here's the thing that I want all the listeners, viewers to think about at the moment. There's now over 360 million people in the United States, of which X amount of percentage is over the age of 18 and can purchase a home. Not saying that they qualify, but can actually, if they had all the requirements and things of that nature. Isn't that our entire demographic audience that we're trying to help educate and accomplish the goal of home ownership or selling or actualizing the ability to build generational wealth with use of real estate and property, but yet the mindset is like this big in some of those situations. That's one of those things that you scratch yourself and go, but we're going to do what we do. And eventually they're either going to jump on board or they're not. And by the time they jump on board, we're on to the next thing. And that's typically how it goes when you're an innovator, when you're somebody that is not willing or is willing to take the risk, is willing to show people what's behind the curtain. And truly the risk that you're taking, it's in yourself. Right? I mean, you trust in your ability to continue to provide content. You trust in yourself with the ability to not be scared to put yourself out there, knowing that you could receive questions and those questions could lead to answers that you may not know, right? You don't have to know every answer to everything.
Right.
You just need to be the person that knows where to find the answer, right? So, I mean, this TikTok, real estate, Instagram, real thing, I don't think I'll ever understand. But the good news is I know how to use the back end logistics, leverage, big concept, to coach you guys to get more into your inbox and more people into the home, or more people, their goals accomplished. That's what we're here for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, guys, do you want to share anything? I mean, what are a couple of, and we'll end with this, what are a couple of tips that you would recommend? And maybe we can go back and forth, but let's just go a couple of tips for someone that is either currently or interested in getting into TikTok videos, Instagram Reels, short stories, things of that nature. And go.
The first one that I would say is, if you're going to attack, TikTok Reels, whatever the video that you're going to do, you have to be scheduled with it and you have to set time for it. Because that's one thing I didn't know. All of a sudden I'd be working, and all of a sudden 2 hours later I was still working on videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. So I definitely think if you're doing it, you have to know it's a commitment, and you have to commit a certain amount of time to it, and don't go over that time, because you also have a job that you're doing that you're making money for.
Sure.
So I've cut into my time that I had work. So I would say make it a commitment and schedule time for it, because that makes your life easier.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do a certain number of videos so that you have it for the week, or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
I think.
I mean, it's a great great notation, because I can attest, not doing the TikTok things like that, but this podcast, it consumed me for a minute, and I loved it. But at the same time, you go, wait a minute, this isn't what I do for a living.
Exactly.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Making sure that you're having a time set aside, because it can consume you. Like Instagram in the beginning, when I was doing it, I realized I was looking at my weekly time on my phone. My iPhone was yelling at me. They're like 11 hours. I was like, whoa, dude. That's just arbitrary. But, stuff like that made me realize, how I'm going to value my time and where I need to put my efforts and stuff like that. But just starting out on Instagram, I would say, a few things. You want to be consistent, and it's not going to be right off. You're not going to get that huge following or those thousands of views in the first few videos. So just consistently post. I'd say a good 3 weeks is probably about right. 2 to 3 reels a day, and try to keep them, between less than 10 seconds. As far as engagement and stuff like that, if you have a professional profile, you'll see there's a little button there that says insights.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very valuable tool. I'm all about data.
Yeah,
everything.
Me too. Absolutely.
Everything I do is data driven. So if you go in there, you'll notice your engagement, and then there's gonna be 3 little categories. If you go to your followers, you click on that and you scroll all the way down. There's a chart that shows the days of the week. You click on that and it'll show the times which your crowd or your following is actually engaging with your profile.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you mirror that and follow that when you're posting. So most of the time you'll see in the morning, for me, before 9 a.m. is a hot time. Everybody's on their phone. I think it's because they're waking. Waking up. Yep. Yeah, or on the porcelain. You never know.
Right.
That's always a valuable time. And then at lunchtime, everybody's going to lunch and stuff like that. And then in the evenings, usually, you can kind of toy with that. Between 3 and 5, or 7 and 9 are really good times. So, I would just definitely stay consistent. Use YouTube. It's a very valuable tool. There's a lot of information out there to help you grow as well. And, if you follow me, just shoot me a question and I'll help you out as best as I can.
Awesome. Where can these listeners find you at?
C.Garcia Realty is my Instagram handle.
How about you, P?
Loans with P. Jones.
There you go. And that's on
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Good deal. So I'll close with this, guys. Thank you again for joining me for this. It was enlightening, especially you can teach an old dog new tricks. I'm not saying I'm old, but I might be a dog.
No, don't say you got the dog.
So that being said, guys, there's plenty that we got out of this episode. If you are someone that is looking to jump into not just social media, but a video short content TikTok reel for leads for customers, a couple of key factors that we heard here today. Keep the videos short. Know exactly what you want to do when you start, in the sense that I'm gonna stay consistent to my message. Make sure that you're not editing it too much. By doing that, I think the algorithm knows that you're trying to tweak it or trying to get over on it for some way, somehow. But I think consistency is one of the biggest things that we can take away from this. If you stay consistent to what you're doing, you're going to see results. You're not going to see results right away, but you may. And as long as you're doing things intentionally and knowing exactly what your target is going to be and what your end goal is wanting to be, I think you're going to be just fine. So that being said, again, one more time, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to cross-pollinating, as they say. And we'll catch you on the next one.
You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it. They were
Probably
like,
didn't
right.
get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap, and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. We're going 5, 4,